does no harm. If it's going to cost some more money to do it right, then let's spend the money so we don't have a 100-year blighting impact on some of the best communities in the state. How is that going to actually be accomplished? Litigation will probably, frankly, put some arrows in the quiver. Public agitation and getting involved individually in groups very much helps. But what is ultimately going to solve the problem, in my opinion at least, is very effective and close coordination among all the communities up and down the peninsula so that they can go in a unified way and say, hey, let's make a deal. You want to have a great high-speed rail project for the future of California? Let's have one. Let's do it right. We've got the ability to tell you yes in our communities, but you're going to have to not have this elevated freeway structure running through the middle of our communities. You're going to have to do it a different way. We're going to be getting to that position, and I think within the next 6 months we may see that. We're going to have a whole new government after the November election, starting in January. The legislative oversight committees that are in charge of this project have said by February we want to see where everything is. And between now and February we have a lawsuit, we have the people focused on this, and we're going to have to change history in Sacramento on this project. And I'm telling you, we can. So go to that website, get on the email list so you know what's going on, and we will be in touch with you. And I can tell you, we're going to send you over to see Mr. Byrd and your other council members. They're listening to this very closely, believe me, and we're going to, you know, I forgot to mention this, and I really should never forget to mention this. One of the great things about the people of the San Francisco Peninsula and why these are such great communities is they're willing to invest in something that's good for the community. You know, one of the things they've invested in? The Caltrain alignment. It is under really the ownership, ultimately, if you think about it, through the Caltrain Joint Powers Board of the people of the peninsula. That right-of-way is not open for use by the High-Speed Rail Authority unless the Caltrain Joint Powers Board says so. They're mainly, not all, but largely local officials from the affected communities. They certainly respond to local communities. And the right kind of use of that Caltrain alignment in the future, in Palo Alto, I know, is focused on this like a laser, makes for the kind of communities we want and that these communities have been working to be for so many years and so effectively. So we will succeed if we don't give in to what is so common in politics, which is politics isn't going to do anything. This is inevitable. We just got advice from our lawyer on eminent domain that we better not sell now, but we're going to sell later when we have to, and we're done. Just let me tell you, if you believe that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we hang together, if we organize effectively, we will win and get it done right. So that's my pitch.
Gary, you mentioned this. We have an election in less than a month. We have an election in less than a month. We'll be voting for new state senators and state representatives. How do we know their position on high-speed rail when we go to the ballot?
Good luck. I don't know.
Can we find out and send something out?
You can ask. What we've found at the Community Coalition on High-Speed Rail has done a great deal of electioneering research along those lines, but some. And what we've tended to hear from governor candidates on down is, we're really sympathetic to your issue, we will certainly work with you, we want to be responsive, but we're not going to be against the project, and we're not going to be for the project against the community, so you really don't know. I was a politician for 20 years, and I just want to tell you something, it's the secret of politics. If the public comes in large numbers, organized, and demands of its elected representatives that they do something, and what they are demanding that you do, in fact, is reasonable and responsible, you will do it. And, I mean, it's sort of like Mr. Turner was talking about eminent domain. Well, there's no guarantee. They don't have to do it. But my experience has been they do it. And they will do everything to avoid letting you know that you can put him in that position. When you talk to Mr. Simidian at one of his community meetings, he does not pin himself down. But we can pin him down. And he will represent, he's my state senator too, by the way, in Santa Cruz. He will respond if what Palo Alto and Menlo Park and the other areas he represents come to him with is reasonable and responsible for his district and the state. Doing it right is the right prescription, and if you can't do it right, you should not be doing it. That's what we need to tell these folks, and they will get it done right, because it's just money. That's all it is. To do it right is spending the amount of money necessary to truly mitigate and eliminate impacts that would otherwise be there. There will be some impacts. Not everything will be perfect or exactly the same. That's true. But whole-scale devastation the entire length of the Caltrain right-of-way is so much beyond the pale that it is unreasonable, and unless the community simply fold, they can, I'm very convinced in my own mind, and my experience tells me, we will prevail on that because we're right. And yeah.
Is there any chance this train could just go from Anaheim to San Jose and then use the Caltrain for the rest?
It's anything, you know, I write a blog, and I write a blog every day, and it's called Two Worlds. And here's my pitch on Two Worlds, and it is an answer to your question, actually. We have the world of nature, which God gave us or existed before us. We certainly didn't create it. And within the world of nature upon which we are ultimately totally dependent, there are natural laws that you cannot disobey. The law of gravity is inevitable. And that's just the way it is. Mostly, however, we don't live in the world of nature. We're ultimately dependent on it. We live in the world we create, and in the human world, the laws are not like gravity. They do not define what is inevitable. We write them down. They are not descriptions of what must happen. They are prescriptions about what we think should happen. Now, the current law, and we can change them, the current law, Proposition 1A, seems to indicate, and there's a little wiggle room, but it's not very much, let me tell you, that basically says the train has to go from Anaheim, Los Angeles to San Francisco, and you got to be able to stay in the same car the whole way. You can't be forced to get out like in San Jose. That actually could change, probably, if we wanted it to, if, as a collective state. It certainly, as I look at it, makes a heck of a lot more sense, because essentially you could electrify the Caltrain alignment, probably provide better service and less pollution and probably less noise and so forth along the peninsula already, and then essentially have the train take off from San Jose, which Mr. Diridon really wants his station to be where this thing enters the Bay Area. There are other entry things that are also practical, as you probably know. So the answer is yes, it could do that, but that is a particular legal obstacle that would have to be changed, I think. Not that it couldn't be, but it's not easy to change it. So whether that'll be the way we solve this problem or not, I don't know. It certainly ought to be an alternative that is seriously considered. Yes, sir?
You have to also bear in mind the capacity of Caltrain even after electrification, whether or not it would accommodate the increased, what let's call a through-running high-speed rail even at lower speeds. There's also that issue.
I think you're absolutely correct that the capacity of the Caltrain service or high-speed service on the Caltrain alignment is a key question, and Proposition 1A actually demands that before decisions are made about what to do, and this is one of the big issues in this lawsuit that your city's involved in, before those decisions are made, there has to be a competent and accurate ridership projection which actually tells you what that is likely to be, because depending on what that ridership projection is, various alternatives either become more or less practical. And the authority hasn't got that. And frankly, Palo Alto CARD, if you know that group, people who live in Palo Alto have helped bring to the fore the absolute deficiency of that analysis. And that's one of the main bases of the lawsuit. Am I getting the evil eye that I got a shot?
No, I just want to say that if you'd like to stay after and answer people's questions.
I can always do that, and unless there's some final question, thank you all for coming and listening to the worst case scenario first, and I'm giving you the best case scenario last.